The standard is the standard. And for DeMeco and company, the defense did not play up to it. Plus, CJ Stroud catching the groove at the right time. Let's grade his performance from Sunday's victory.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. Fun show for you guys today. Going to dive into what's next for the Houston Texans. Jawad Jordan makes things very interesting for that running back field. Nick Chubb returns. He's looking at a more reserve role. Houston has a little bit more explosiveness from two young running backs. How does that change things? Among other things, we'll dive into what's next for the Houston Texans, who continue to win games. Catching a groove. We're going to grade CJ Stroud's performance. He's getting hot, playing good football at the right time. If he builds on this performance, that can make Houston a lot more unbeatable as the season goes on, going into the playoffs. The defense didn't have to save the day. First time since Baltimore where it felt like the Texans defense wasn't out there on the field to win the game on the last possession. However, the standard is the standard. DeMeco Ryans and company didn't feel like they played their best football. We'll dive into that to open up today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to get right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season. To my everydayers from the Himalayas, thank you for making the Locked On Texan podcast your first listen of the day, each and every day, for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in the land. Now, DeMeco Ryans, your offense put up 40. Your defense gave up 20. There was some good, there was some bad, but hear from DeMeco Ryans on his defensive standard.
From that game, defensively, that game was not up to our standard. So there are a ton of things that we can improve upon, a ton of things that we need to get better at, things that we worked that we didn't play up to our standard defensively. So we have a lot to go out and improve.
Clear-cut response there from DeMeco Ryans, who I kind of felt like after Sunday's victory, he didn't feel the same intensity. He could be tired. Just gave a post-game speech in the locker room, so I'm not going to create any speculation, but it did feel like, hey, man, wow, this ain't the same DeMeco Ryans defense that we've seen over the course of the last 5 games heading into the Arizona win, but they got the job done. I will say this. I thought that there were some positives from the defense against Arizona. 3 3-and-outs, 2 turnovers on down. The Texans defense forced Arizona to go 5 of 12 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down. Houston's defense held the Cards to under 80 rushing yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Now, that could be a nod to Houston going up early in the game, forcing the Cards to throw it a lot more in the second half throughout the game. But when we look at why DeMeco Ryans say this, our performance wasn't up to our standard, and why I believe the players echo that as well. I had a great conversation with Henry Tortora in the locker room afterwards. He pointed out some of the things that he didn't do well. He pointed out some of the things that he felt like defensively they didn't do well as altogether. And I'm working on an interview to play for you guys. Got some great audio. Hopefully they'll be able to get fixed and come over so you guys can hear from both Henry T and Titus Howard. But Jacoby Brissett was the first quarterback all year to throw for 3 TDs. That was the first time since week 9, the week 9 loss to Denver, the defense had a double-digit amount of missed tackles. Only 1 missed tackle came against the run. The other 9 in the passing game. You talk about what can piss DeMeco Ryans off, can piss the players off, and talk about, their standard and not playing up to it. They improved on a lot of good things defensively to be able to go out there and win 5 games in a row, to go out there and be nationally acclaimed, critically acclaimed, the best defense in the NFL. Some of the things that they were doing early in the year, like those missed tackles, they cut down. And then against Arizona, a team 3-10 team, just trying to play spoiler, be a trap game. Some of those bad tendencies return for Houston. So that's going to make any unit in the NFL mad, but especially a unit that's led by players like Azeez Al-Shaair, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, and their head coach being DeMeco Ryans. Plus, I think the Trey McBride assignment all game was just wacky altogether. His role and how he was able to dominate kind of kept the Cards somewhat in the fight in the first half a little bit, especially his contribution to the yak yards allowed. So I think DeMeco, looking at DeMeco being around him for 3 years, not as much as everybody else, but from his perspective and that of the team, the brand of football we've come to know and love from Houston's defense just wasn't on full display. Too many missed tackles, allowed for drives to be sustained, which resulted in points being scored. You got 11 passing plays of 10 or more yards. That's a problem for this defense. The red zone TD to Trey McBride, was that communication on the assignment from the defender? Bad technique? Either way, that's a problem for this defense. And I'm going to also say this. When we look at the defense front four, having guys like Will Anderson and a guy like Danielle Hunter, it felt like Jacoby Brissett had some time in the pocket to get the ball downfield more times than I guess we expected with no Paris Johnson out there. This was back-to-back weeks now where the starting offensive line for the team was banged up, and we didn't see the edge defenders completely take over the game. Now, granted, when I talk about the Texans defense having some good moments, Kamari Lassiter, who allowed a touchdown but did get an interception, and I thought that how he got that interception, beautiful. Teach tape, running the route for the receiver. It was right where he needed to be. I thought Azeez Al-Shaair played some good football, didn't allow a lot of yards, had 12 total tackles, being where he needed to be, and also bringing some of that swarm mentality that may have been missed from the players, but more so maybe from the head coach, DeMeco Ryans. Is this a game where you look at the defense differently? I don't think so. I think that it's a little bit nitpicky from us on the outside. I think why it's important to talk about it is the head coach feels that way. He's still a defensive-minded coach, right? Obviously, that's how the Houston Texans got here. And I'm sure the defensive players may be feeling like, "Ooh, man, I'm glad we ain't have to go out there and put on our Sunday's best against that team," right? Somewhat what they had to do against Tennessee a few weeks ago, where the Houston Texans had to, it came down to a field goal, right? However, the outside noise now is it's not the same as it was 6-7 weeks ago. The outside noise then was, man, the Houston Texans gonna have to fire Nick Caley. The Houston Texans may need to move on from DeMeco Ryans. The Houston Texans got this whole offseason wrong. The outside noise now is the Houston Texans could win the Super Bowl. And when you know your best of the best is on the defensive side of the ball, as a coach, you don't want to let up. You don't want to loosen up. And I think Sunday's performance, albeit most teams in the NFL would love to hold a team to 20 points. But when you look at 307 total yards, that's going to irk DeMeco Ryans off and the leaders of the defense. So it's a good thing to look at. They got the Raiders coming up. That's an offense that has struggled all year, whether it's been Geno, whether it's been Kenny Pickett. Now they fired their offensive coordinator. A lot of you guys wanted him here in Houston, but he didn't work out. Nick Caley, hey, he went through the fire and he made it through. I thought Nick Caley did some good things on Sunday, but I thought that my takeaway from the offense, obviously the offensive line was great. The running back room was great as well for Houston. Well, Jordan was great for Houston. Also, I thought Woody Marks had some good runs as well. So we'll dive into that to close out the show. But offensive line gave that quarterback protection. Now CJ Stroud could be catching the groove at a right time. Let's grade CJ Stroud's performance. Got all of that and more when we return back on the Locked On Texans podcast. Before having that conversation, it's one of the best times of the year. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. Kind of like that. You know, that Nico Collins touchdown on the second play of the game, I think that was Houston's fastest touchdown in franchise history. Someone around 52 or 59 seconds. That's how fast NFL Sundays move. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines adjusting instantly, player props update as guys get hot, and more. So if you want to be in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long going into the playoffs. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so you can too. Texas fans, I missed you guys on a Victory Monday, but what did I say? It's going to be a Victory Tuesday, Victory Wednesday, Victory Thursday, Victory Friday. I believe it could possibly be a Victory December. That means every day this month, as long as the Houston Texans continue to win, every day is a dub, right? How can Houston continue to create that momentum for themselves and get to 6 wins to 7 wins and get 7 wins to 8 wins? A defense who has somewhat of a lapse is going to play great football, right? But what makes this team as dangerous as they could possibly be is when you get CJ Stroud playing some good football. DeMeco Ryans talked about CJ Stroud, his ability to be efficient, spreading the ball around. I asked him about that on Sunday, and he talked about, hey, listen, this could be his best game of the year. DeMeco Ryan said Sunday was his best game of the year. But let's hear from DeMeco on his ability to be efficient and spread the ball around and how that equals a good day at the office for Stroud in the offense.
Oh, when we opened the game, how we opened the game with CJ making a huge play to Nico and Nico taking it to the house, I think that's indicative of how the day is going to go for us. That's, we're operating the right way. We're executing. But overall, I thought CJ did an outstanding job of just playing very clean, very efficient throughout the game. The ball went to multiple guys because he was just going through his progressions, making the proper reads. And when it wasn't there, he was able to scramble, make a play. He was able to get out of escape the pocket, throw the ball away when it wasn't there. So I thought his decision-making was really, really great. And he stepped up in the pocket with his eyes downfield multiple times, made great decisions. And that's what we expect from him, to play clean, make great decisions, protect the football, and make plays when plays are there to be made, and that's what he did for us, and he had a really great game.
I want to add CJ Stroud was blitzed on 22.6% of his dropbacks. And against the pressure altogether, CJ Stroud finished 9 of 11, 107 yards, 1 TD. He was also extremely impressive, in my opinion, with 160 passing yards and 2 TDs in the middle of the field. Coming into this game, what did I ask for last week, guys? I said, hey, listen, the defense deserves a break. They do. They've been carrying this team. They've been carrying the water, and every week we pour more water to them buckets, right? I needed to see, and I think we all needed to see, if we're being honest with ourselves, and if we talk about the Super Bowl possibility that this team has right now, you don't really reach that pinnacle unless your quarterback can make plays. Even if your quarterback is managing the game, right? Your quarterback still needs to make plays. And Stroud has made some plays, but I thought, I'm going to agree with DeMeco Ryans in the sense that I thought that this was some of the best ball CJ Stroud has played all year. Obviously, you got Baltimore. You also look at San Francisco, a game that I think to this day, that's CJ Stroud's best game this year. But seeing what we saw from CJ Stroud, Stroud took the stage, stood tall, center stage, and had one of his best performances of the season. Many of us, myself included, needed this season, and he delivered. Jonathan Gannon was asked about the pressure CJ Stroud faced and said the times where we did have pressure, he bought some time. He continued with, He did a good job of not taking negative plays. If you know DeMeco Ryans, he's been talking about this for a while now. And it's a small progression, but it's a big progression. When CJ Stroud would take those sacks early in the year, a 5-yard loss would turn into a 12-yard loss. That was a theme, right? And if we're being honest, we know that was a theme. It's been improved in the last couple of weeks since returning back from his concussion. So I think that part of his game has improved. Also, the flow of the game fit perfectly into Stroud's hands, and I think he managed the game by not creating turnovers, not creating, like I said, those bad sacks, getting the ball out quickly when the opportunities were there, and taking what the defense gave him to sustain drives. If I were to nitpick this performance, I talk about my issue with Nico Collins going nearly 3 quarters without a registered catch. Obviously, he had one call back because the referee said Blake Fisher didn't report. But up top, looking down low, I thought that not AD, but I thought that Blake Fisher reported. So did my colleagues as well. But whatever, we can nitpick on that. But in the same breath, I was very impressed with Stroud's classic old school point guard style approach to how he operated under the center and how he distributed the passes. 8 different receivers touched the ball for Houston. And because of this, I think this played a role into Houston having 171 yak yards on the day. That's Houston's best yak yards performance output all year, right? And this ain't a team where you can just line these guys up and everybody can just win their one-on-one reps. This ain't that team. Nico Collins can do that. Dalton Schultz can do that. And by the way, you look at the impact that those two had on the game altogether, 2 red zone touchdowns, over 163 yards, receiving yards. Stroud got the ball to his best players. They've been their best players all year offensively, out there in terms of pass catching, and they were able to make plays. So 171 yak yards, that's a plus. The most all year, the most in San Fran. Again, that's why I felt like we saw CJ Stroud at his best. Stroud just looked like he was really in control. Really in control. And shout out to that offensive front, offensive line. There's no way I'm doing this show and not talking about them big boys up front. That's all the protection CJ needed. Friday, that took place in California. CJ Stroud is from California. I'm making a little reference there. but excuse me, that's all the protection Stroud needed. And he delivered. The flow of the game, the tempo was controlled by Stroud. It's been rare we've seen this year. And what I like the most, like the foot was not taken off the pedal in the second half. 17 second half points, including 2 red zone touchdowns. 17 points in the first quarter. Season average, 4. 7 points in the third. Season average, 3.5. These have been things that I've harped on a lot. And I thought coming out of the Arizona game, it felt like Nick Caley, who had his ups and downs, but I thought ultimately a fair day from him. Offensive line, again, they provided the things that they needed to do to be able to run the ball effectively. All right. But I thought the offense took this game as a challenge to one-up the defense or to play on the same level of the defense, right? 2 quarters that Houston has been god-awful in this season. They scored 17 points in the first. They go score 7 in the third. Just gave you guys the average on the season. Arizona made a way for them to score points because they've done it all season. For most teams have scored points on Arizona all year, but Houston took advantage and put the game to rest. Stroud was a large part as to why they were able to do that. So if I'm grading CJ Stroud, B+, and if I'm not nitpicking, not finding Nico Collins the ball, I'm going to go ahead and say an A-. I thought he played some good football for Houston. And by the way, 59% of CJ Stroud's completions were first downs. Good day at the office for CJ Stroud. Now, what's next for Houston? Well, they got some guys that just made some plays for Houston. Ultimately, does the running back room look a little different with how Jawar Jordan performed? Should it? Should it not? Stick around for more Locked On Texans talk. Before we have that conversation, it's very important to talk about Rocket Money. You ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It feels like it's happening fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. I know I'm going through that right now. Plus, it's Christmas time. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances because managing your money should feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. I like how Rocket Money automatically builds budgets based on past spending. It keeps track of everything you're doing without having to overthink it. So, take control of your finances. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. Rocketmoney.com/locked on. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You guys already live your team every day. Shout out to my everydayers from the Himalayas. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Texans with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedontexans.supercast.com. Again, lockedontexans.supercast.com, or check the link in the show notes to learn more. For the Houston Texans, obviously they want to continue to improve in areas that they've struggled in all year. They go 3 of 6 in the red zone for 50%. Hear from DeMeco Ryans on the red zone improvements.
First thing, when we get into the red zone, we got to eliminate going backwards. I said where we are in the red zone, we got to make sure we're targeting the right people in the run game, making sure we get a hat on the hat when we are, trying to run the football. It starts there, just being on our assignments, doing what we're supposed to do, and from operations standpoint, we got to be able to execute. Like, just overall as an offense, it's not okay just to get into the red zone. Like, we want to be able to score touchdowns. So there's still a lot left out there for us offensively as well.
DeMeco, this is why I love covering DeMeco. He is very even keel, but there's still the player aspect mentally where, and he played in a different time of football, but I got to get better because I'm trying to win, and I'm trying to win because I got this goal I'm trying to accomplish. And Houston put up 40. Don't feel like he is just 100% satisfied. And I don't think he's going to be 100% satisfied until they reach to the AFC Championship game. After that, I think it's fair game for everybody. The AFC is so up for grabs this year. Do you fear Denver? A lot of people say, hey, listen, I just don't trust Bo Nix. No Kansas City. Possibly no Lamar Jackson. No Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Josh Allen's in that thing. The Patriots in that thing. What's going to happen with Pittsburgh, or will Baltimore catch them, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, no matter how y'all feel about that team in Duval, they're playing great football. We got to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge it. So the AFC right now is so up for grabs, which is why I think when we talk to DeMeco and we see some of the things that's happening on tape and we ask him these questions, why I think he's extremely keen on details, but he understands we don't have room for errors if we're going to make this dream of ours a real reality. So that being said, I agree with him on the red zone improvements what need to happen. Titus Howard kind of talked about that as well. Houston isn't one of the top tier third and short type of teams. And Tyler Tyler talked about that. He said, man, we're a big unit. Excuse me. We're big guys up front, but we have to improve in those short yardage situations. And I 100% agree. For the Houston Texans on the year, I looked these numbers up, so you guys are going to like that. In those third and short situations, the Houston Texans, in 128 plays, Houston has chosen to run the ball 80 times on third and short. That's 1 to 3 yards to go. They average 2.6 yards per attempt. So, again, the improvements are extremely necessary. Now, when I look at what's next for Houston, Houston got something that running back with Jawar Jordan in the mix now, do they? Was it Arizona? Is he somebody that took advantage of his situation and opportunity, which he absolutely did, by the way? You know, Nick Chubb missed the game with that rib injury. They opted to pull out Woody Marks after the first couple of runs. I think he ended the game with 7 carries for 30 yards. I thought he played well in this performance, but Jawar Jordan took it over, and he took it over big time. 7 missed tackles, 6.7 yards per carry, 80 yards after contact. Excuse me. First Texan to reach 100 yards on the ground. This is why I like this conversation, because my everydayers from the Himalayas have heard me say this. It is not a shock. Plus, y'all know I like Woody Marks. But Woody Marks is not RB1 in the NFL. I've said it before. I think he can be a big reason why Houston has a successful running back room. Before, I likened him to James White, Shane Vereen, just guys that you can trust out of the backfield, can win in some of those blitz pickups and do some of the small things. Woody isn't the greatest of runners right now. A lot of 3.7, 3.6 yards per carry games this year. What I like about the addition of Jawar Jordan is if he can play like this to close out the year going into the playoffs, that for one allows for Houston to just really reserve Nick Chubb over the next couple of weeks, get him ready. We can say whatever we want to say about Nick Chubb, but Chubb has played some good football in terms of yards per carry. I think he is still averaging around 4.1, 4.2 yards per carry. What I also like is now Houston can have 2 chains of pace backs that can do things a little bit differently. So you look at what Woody Marks does out of the backfield, passing game, pass blocking, and also how impactful he can be just running the ball when he gets those opportunities, especially early in the game. But you look at Jawar Jordan maybe being a better pure runner of the football. I think that's a great combination that Houston could possibly have. Also, what's next? What's next is Dalton Schultz. Dalton has played good football all year for Houston, and his contribution, 8 catches, 76 yards, 1 TD, also had 9 targets. I just think that when we look at Dalton Schultz, who currently has 650 yards on the year, so he could possibly finish this season with over 800 receiving yards. He's been Houston's second to-go man this year in the receiving game. He's just been impactful, and we're also seeing Dalton Schultz this year give more effort blocking as well. So what's next for Houston? They got to continue to make sure he's featured in the passing game. They got to continue to make sure he's involved. Of all the things that we've seen this year, and this is kind of why it's frustrating that we didn't get an opportunity to see a healthy Brevin Jordan, the involvement of the tight end group this year, and it's been extremely up and down due to injury. Harrison Bryant's on the field one week. He's not the next week. Kate Stover in and out, guys that they're trying to find ways to get on the field. But the one constant and consistent has been Dalton Schultz. Continue to make sure he gets the ball as well. And for the offensive line, what's next? Keep stacking good days. Keep stacking good moments. I thought they did a great job of pass protecting. I thought they did a great job of opening rushing lanes. Houston loves that one toss play. They love it. And they love it to the left side. They love it to the right side too. Trent Brown got busy out there, man. So they love that toss play I think that's something that Houston wants to continue to build on. And I am anticipating the day we see that fake toss play action boot to the opposite side where we'll get a runner wide open. Also, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. The slot involvement from Sunday's game was extremely disappointing if I'm nitpicking things, but Christian Kirk continues to be a disappointment. And Jalen Noel, who did phenomenal for Houston in the special team game, it looks like that's going to be his role for the rest of the year, and we'll be able to see more from him hopefully next season. Also, Houston, without Mario Edwards for the rest of the year, he's declared. Talking with Titus Howard after the game, and I can't wait to present that interview with you guys. I had some audio issues I'm trying to clean up. But he talked about his vision, his explosiveness out of the backfield, and how he's done a good job of just getting upfield. So, also, Houston will be without Mario Edwards for the rest of the year. He has been declared out for the season with an injury. So, later in the week, we'll talk about how that could potentially impact the Houston Texans on the inside of that D line. But thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, the late night edition. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. To my everydayers from the Himalayas, y'all not dreaming. I'm going to pinch myself. This is real. The Super Bowl could possibly feature Houston. They're going to need number 7 to stay consistent. They're going to need number 7 to play consistent football from the quarterback position. Until next time, peace.